Principal Scientific Advisor Professor Sood, Dr. Kalai Selvi, Dr. Ravi Chandran, Dr. Abhay, Dr. Rajesh, and of course our Principal DG Ojha Sahab, members of the fraternity, also officials of all the different departments falling under the Ministries of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Science, and of course, more importantly, the media friends who are here to actually make us feel reassured that science does find a space in media now, which was perhaps not easily seen till a few years ago. So I think there's been presentations made by each of the secretaries, and that makes my task easier. And at the risk of being repetitive and taking your time, I will not get into all that because it's already been very elaborately put out before you. So, from a different perspective, I think if you ask me to sum up, I would sum up saying that the last 11 years turned technology as the engine of India growth story. And that's there for anyone to see with evidence. Also, the last 10 years turned India into a technology leader rather than a technology follower. And thirdly, the last 10 years also saw India coming out with global best practices for others to follow instead of waiting to adopt the best practices developed by others. So I think these three sentences sum up about all. And this has been possible largely because after 2014, we had a political dispensation which was very enabling, which was very supportive. And I think what the scientist needs the most is the liberty to experiment, even sometimes at the risk of not being as successful as envisaged. And that was allowed to us by the Honorable Prime Minister, whether it was in the case of going out for private participation, even in departments like space and nuclear sector, or going out of way to involve even foreign collaborations and FDIs. Because we never lacked talent, we never lacked the potential. But perhaps what was lacking was a political dispensation and a supportive approach which happens from the level of the policymakers, and B, that we had refrained ourselves from following the global strategies which drove us into working in silos, unlike what is seen or witnessed in the other countries where there's no demarcation between the private and the public sector. Now, this has also given huge importance to all these science departments that you see over here. And as I was saying, it's also generated interest in the media and the people outside these departments. And they put it in a different way. In fact, when I came here and when Ravi Chandran joined, I asked him, I sometimes feel like doing a survey on the streets of Delhi, give them a performer and ask them where on earth is the Department of Earth Sciences. I don't know how many people would know that. But today I'm glad people come looking and ask, where is Prithvi Bhavan? So that is the kind of. Now similarly, the Department of Biotechnology had been dumped behind ITBP. So when you went looking for him, you came across all the uniformed cops. So your first reaction would be that you landed at the wrong place. Today, young boys and girls are demanding that we need to have a proper address because we want to avail of BIRAC, we want to avail of the startup. There were just 50 startups in 2014. Now there are more than 10,000, 11,000. So that is the visibility. Similarly, Department of Science and Technology has its own technology bhavan now, a huge complex befitting of the kind of work that they are doing at Mehrauli. They are no longer confined to a small section. And of course, CSIR, I need not say, we introduced a program called 1 Week, 1 Lab, She presides over 37 labs and the PSU, but hardly anything was known about it. In fact, when we started involving public engagement with each of the labs, and I would say, let the people talk about us, what they think. And one of the places where we had a farmers interaction, because the institute was dedicated more to the agri schemes, they came out with some hilarious observations. Some of them said, we used to pass by this gate, we didn't know what is happening. If we ask the passerby, he said, don't ask, andar मेंढक काटे जाते हैं. Lab hai. Somebody said the ghosts dance in the night. So we have opened up, all the 37 labs opened up, so that people can now see that Dr. Kalai Selvi presides over a huge, huge empire, I think next only to that of Queen Victoria. So this visibility is not only to showcase ourselves or to give us some kind of a satisfaction out of publicity, whatever has happened, but also that we have reached out to the stakeholders. So that is something which was not mentioned in any of the earlier presentations. Today, we are very much linked with those for whom these gentlemen and gentle ladies work, and those who have to avail of us. So we are much, much closer now through these interactive programs. Now we have also launched one theme 1 week, so that all the institutes working on a similar theme come together in an integrated fashion. And that is the global strategy which is followed by the successful nations. Then the other highlight or the hallmark has been that most of these departments have tried to explore areas which were hitherto unexplored. Today, we've reached from 10th to 4th economy. But as members of the scientific fraternity, we are not expected simply to romantically and fancifully keep saying we'll be number one, we'll be number one. That might suit others. We are expected to come out with scientific evidence about what is the roadmap. And if you scientifically try to ponder over it, the roadmap is to explore those areas which have not been explored earlier or have remained underexplored, or the sectors, the regions. That only will add value to bring us from 4 to 3 and subsequently to 2 and 1. And I'm glad, and that's, I think, I know how far we have noticed. Department of Biotechnology, and look at, have you ever realized what were the greatest assets, natural assets of India, resource pool, which unfortunately remained underexplored for the last 70 years? One is biodiversity. We keep saying unity in diversity, unity in diversity, unity in diversity, without even understanding what it is all about. But have we ever made a virtue out of this diversity? This diversity itself is our exclusive resource, not given to any other country in the world, where you have very homogeneous composition, both resource-wise and otherwise. And for the first time, I'm glad this biodiversity is being explored by the Department of Biotechnology, headed by Dr. Rajesh Gokhale. And as was being mentioned, this is going to be the foundation of the next industrial revolution. We are already into it, as he was mentioning, with institutionalized policies like BioE3. So we have already started moving in that direction. And this resource is going to add value to our future economic growth. The second factor, the second area which remained underexplored for 7 decades was our ocean resource. We have 11,000 kilometer long coastal area. We have almost 12 states residing on the banks of the oceans. We have an ocean called Indian Ocean by the name of the country, which no other has. But we never looked into it, we never peeped into it. The first time, huge resource of minerals, metals, fisheries. When the minerals and fisheries on the surface of Earth get exhausted, saturated, where are you going to add value to? How do you reach from 4 to 1? This is, so Dr. Ravi Chandran's department has started exploring that. And third, natural resource only given to India. Like I said, biodiversity 1, oceans 2, and the third, again, not exactly realized for almost 7 days, the Himalayas. And I'm glad Dr. Kalai Selvi is department has started looking into Himalayas. This purple revolution emanating from Himalayas is becoming a new genre of agri startups, a new genre of livelihood, and a very lucrative livelihood. Also exploding the Western myth that to be a startup you have to be an IT man. To be a startup you have to be a PhD. Many of our startups are not even graduates, and that is indigenous startup emanating from the lab of Himalaya. So these three major sectors which had remained underexplored, unexplored for the last decades are now getting explored by these three departments. And this is exactly going to add value when we reach economy number one. Then in the process, as I said, this has also led to the discovery of the talent which had hitherto remained undiscovered. Because we had so many myths, like I said, the startup has to be an IT, startup has to be a very great scientist. Many of these success stories which were being narrated by Dr. Kalai Selvi are hardly any scientists. They can't, I think, even write the spelling of science, yes, but they have an aptitude for technology. They have an aptitude for passion for the technology, and they are very good learners. The other notable feature of these last few years has been that we have worked in the true spirit of cooperative federalism, which the policymakers keep saying, and science departments are not expected to be a part of it. We are indeed. Our science councils under Dr. Abhay Karindikar have become much, much more active now. There were times in these states, no civil servant would like to be a science secretary because he would always keep waiting to be transferred to the department, and therefore the departments would remain neglected. Now realizing, now we have aligned those technologies with public welfare programs, which has given esteem, whether it's a Swamitva program, whether it's a Jal Jeevan mission, whether it's your soil health agriculture schemes. All these schemes, because of their close alignment with technology, the science departments in these states have also started collaborating. And lastly, because I said I won't be repetitive, I'll just give one each global best practice emanating from each of the departments and being emulated by the rest of the world. As I said, we have learned to speak with evidence, so this can also be verified by anyone. The best practice of the Department of Biotechnology, vaccine, the first ever DNA vaccine, now being emulated by the other countries. They are in fact wondering, a country hardly known for healthcare practices has come out to become a leader in the preventive healthcare. And B, a global best practice of successful gene trial in hemophilia, which is again a global problem. In fact, hemophilia was also once upon a time known as Queen's disease. In the earlier books, if you find 19th century textbooks of written by the British authors, because then after 1980 or so, the entire medicine and science academics shifted over from Britain to America. So the earlier authors used to call it Queen's disease because of one of the Queen Victoria's relatives had this. It emanated from there, it was worked upon there, deficiency of clotting factor 8, leading on to bleeding, uncontrolled. Many people would succumb to a bleeding if they had an accident or a trauma. The first gene trial successful has not happened where it was first reported. It has happened through the Department of Biotechnology with a trial conducted at Christian Medical College, Vellore, and it has been reported by none less than New England Journal of Medicine, which is among the oldest science journals, almost 200 years old. New England Journal of Medicine and the British Medical Journal, the two oldest journals emanating from the Great Britain. So that is the other global best practice. Now, for the Department of Science and Technology, the geospatial policy, lesser talked about, but it's emerged as a global practice. The Swamitva program is also greatly guided by this policy. And the world is wondering how a country as heterogeneous, as vast as India, is also a peninsula, it's also a Himalaya. It has also island territories. It has also got hill terrains. You could come out with a practice of mapping using drones and satellite images, and you have put the revenue officer out of job. You have made the farmer, the landowner, the master of his own destiny. And that is exactly the spirit of citizen-centric governance. As I said, we have aligned our technologies with the governance. So there is again a global practice is to be followed. As far as the Ministry of Earth Sciences is concerned, way back in 2016 or 17, we came out with a satellite. Earlier, the idea was to name it SAR satellite, and of course, it was not named because Pakistan refused to be a part of it, and of course, that's their misfortune. But that satellite is now offering services, both the disaster predictions, disaster evaluation information to all the countries around. Neighbors First policy launched by Prime Minister Modi through the MEA is being supplemented by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Whether it's Mongolia, it's Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, the information being catered by this department through IMD has actually enhanced India's reach and emerged as a global practice. And similarly also, as was being mentioned briefly by Dr. Ravi Chandra, our forays into Antarctica are now also of a much superior quality compared to many other countries. In fact, we even went to the extent of performing yoga day before yesterday over there among penguins and the ice. So, and I need not mention the CSIR global best practice is purple revolution and lavender. The other day, I and Dr. Ravi Chandran had the opportunity of visiting the oldest lavender, the perfume village called Grasse in France. We went there simply and we have got you aligned with them. So the Consulate General will soon get in touch with you. So they are wondering that they had the perfume industry in France, but there was someone here who was also cultivating it in one bunkyard. So that is your global base. So ladies and gentlemen, without taking your time and without causing boredom to you, I will just try to spell out for your convenience some of the global best practices emanating from each of the departments. Thank you very much.